Oppai Hunters.
KonoSuba is the story about Kazuma, a young man who met an untimely demise. In the bridge between lives, he meets Aqua, a goddess who offers him a new life in a new fantasy world. After a chain of events, Kazuma ends up taking Aqua with him to the new world, but things don't turn out as well as he had hoped. Although Aqua is a goddess, she is fairly unreliable in this world, and as time goes on, they meet Darkness and Megumin, who also lack the qualities of good party members. But despite all the cards stacked against him, Kazuma learns to love his party and this new world, even if just barely.
Story.
So I feel like KonoSuba intentionally doesn't really focus on story that much, and I personally feel that it works in the show's favor. There were some points where they tried to focus on story a little bit, like with the Destroyer at the end of the series, but I really feel like that dragged it down for me. I really preferred it when it was just new stuff happening in each episode, or if each episode even had different plot lines that it covered throughout the runtime. And there were also the times where, like with the Dualahan, where that was a overarching thing that was split across multiple episodes, and I feel like that worked really well.
So I quite literally have the opposite opinion of Jason. I didn't like the concept of those episodes not really fitting to the storyline that was given. I found it really slow boiling and honestly kind of useless and boring for me to watch at times. Like sometimes I was just on my phone. But when it actually like contributed to the story with like the Demon King and such, I enjoyed it.
I have to agree with Jason. I preferred the shorter, like one-off episodes where they just go on a simple quest and it kind of goes awry. I didn't mind like the ending where it was like a longer quest. I just preferred the shorter quests, and I think they did a basic isekai premise just fine. The only complaint I would say, it was a bit of a cop-out not showing the like village people like whiz around the town, but it's only 10 episodes, so it's forgivable.
Characters.
I didn't enjoy any of the main characters much because I generally found everyone either annoying or just unlikable, and it just made the story hard to watch. I didn't like any of the main characters, so yeah.
That's harsh. I'm like the opposite. I'm gonna be honest. I thought Kazuma was pretty annoying throughout the season, but I liked all the girls. It was annoying for going back to Kazuma. It was annoying that he was just like, "Oh my god, they're all weird." Like, yeah, get over it. I get it. They're weird. Because like I loved Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness. I thought they were all like a good weird, and I love how Aqua is just over the top all the time. And Megumin is just a cute explosion lover, and Darkness is a great kinky bitch. Liz is pretty great, but we didn't see much of her, so I would say overall I liked the characters.
I really like the cast of KonoSuba. They're all so like unique to me and full of life, and I have to commend the voice actors that they did such a good job matching the energy that all these characters had. But for season 1, I feel like there wasn't that much development for the characters. But even besides that fact, I still really enjoyed going through the series again with them. But I do also have to comment on the English dub. I feel like Darkness came off a lot more weird than I get from even now going back and watching clips of the sub, but that might just be me.
Entertainment value.
I thought the season was pretty entertaining, and I think the comedy was definitely the best aspect of it. I was laughing quite a bit throughout the whole season. There's some times where my interest was wavered for a bit, but it wasn't too long, and to me, Megumin's explosions were the best part and the most entertaining part, because she is adorable and the girls are amazing, so it was entertaining for me.
Even having watched the series before, I still found it pretty funny. Some of the jokes still landed pretty well for me, even though I remembered exactly how they were going to play out. The dub was also pretty good. I mentioned how the voice actors and actresses really matched what the characters' energy levels are, and Aqua's voice actress did an absolutely amazing job with it. However, I mentioned my thoughts on darkness in the last section, and those feelings kind of extend to the other characters as well. Erica Mendez did a great job as Megumin, but she just doesn't hit the same mark that Rie Takahashi did in the Japanese. And I also feel like Kazuma's voice actor in the sub did a better job at delivering some of the lines. So as a result, there were a couple of jokes that I still personally found funny that just didn't hit as well going through the series this time around.
I believe it had some funny moments, especially with Aqua. She was easily the best entertainment aspect of this anime, but some moments of darkness and Kazuma made me uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. I know it's probably the purpose, but I genuinely just didn't like watching those parts.
Best girl.
So I'm going to steal what Monica is probably going to say in her section, but
Whoa.
I really don't feel like I have a definitive waifu in season 1. I remember Megumin being my favorite character in the show, but I feel like that wasn't necessarily the case this time around. And at this point in the review, I'm realizing how much better the series gets as it progresses compared to the first season especially. If I were to pick a best girl solely based off of what's covered in season 1, it would either be Wiz, because I like her design, and from what little we see of her in season 1, I liked her personality a lot, and her dub voice was just really good for me. And Aqua would be my other pick. I mentioned how good Aqua's dub voice is, and it surprisingly shot up my attachment to the character. And even though I don't know how it would be hanging around her, I think it's worth it.
Stealing my girl. I barely have a best girl. None of the girls appealed to me. In fact, a lot of the background characters I found more attractive and appealing than any.
She was literally gonna pick a fucking maid in the background.
And then I met Wiz. Wiz is cute. I kind of like her personality, her voice. She reminds me of Mikan, and I love Mikan. But she, I don't know much about her, or too much about her personality. So it's just kind of a last-minute choice of having a best girl, because honestly, I really don't have one at this point.
I gotta say, this is a tough one for me. Aqua and Megumin were both amazing throughout this first season. But I had to go with Megumin, ultimately. I like what Jason has been saying about Aqua's dub voice. I'd say Faye Mata was the MVP with that voice, and she really had me conflicted because of her performance. But as a character, I would say Megumin was the best girl. I love girls with dark powers. Megumin's explosions are very powerful, and I don't know, it's appealing. And she's just adorable, even though her hair still confuses me.
Final score.
So even though I've been talking pretty badly about the series, I give it a 6. It was fine. It was entertaining. The story was alright. The characters weren't that great, but you know, I could stand it. I wouldn't mind watching it again. I'd rather not, but you know, I wouldn't mind. I wasn't too annoyed. I wish it was more about the main story, because I'm more of a story person, but that's just not what the series is, and that's how it is. So I don't like it too much, but it's alright.
I have to give KonoSuba season 1 a 7 out of 10. I think overall the season is pretty enjoyable, putting aside my dislike of Kazuma and just focusing on the girls. The dub is pretty good, I would say, like better than a lot of dubs out there. It's definitely worth watching dubbed. And as we've all mentioned, Faye Mata as Aqua is the absolute MVP. throughout watching it, I was constantly amazed at how great her performance was, and like we made constant comments about like being in the booth doing these sounds and like her screams, like incredible. I did meet her at a con before, and I didn't know what KonoSuba was, but I had her sign my KonoSuba book. But now I'm grateful. I haven't seen the sub yet, but I wasn't begging to switch to it at any point. I have high hopes for season 2, and I'm looking forward to it. So I would say it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't watched it already.
My final score for KonoSuba Season 1 is a 7. When I first watched the series, I gave it an 8, so it didn't go down that much, but despite how good I think the dub is, I'm kind of tempted to say it's more the reason why it went down than the fact that I've seen this before. As I said in entertainment value, I feel like some of the jokes just didn't transfer that well between sub and dub. Also, the more I reflected on this season, the more I feel like it doesn't hold up as well now that I've seen Season 2 and the movie. A lot of the development for the characters just doesn't happen until those later points in the series, and going back to not having that development was a little weird for me. I also feel like the writing was even further defined in those, but we'll see how I feel when we get to those reviews. Either way, I still really enjoyed watching the show again, and I think it holds up fairly well even as a rewatch. And so that brings our official Oppai Hunters rating to a 7 out of 10. It's good. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's definitely worth the watch. Thanks for watching. As always, let us know what you think of KonoSuba as well as this review in the comment section below. If you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button for us, really helps us out, and subscribe for more Oppai Hunters content.